And we're live. Welcome, everybody, to your favorite day of the week. I am Anthony Irwin, as always, joined by Aaron Larsol.
This is not my favorite day of the week this week.
How would Friday not be your favorite
Because
day?
I'm in a foul mood.
I mean, yeah, so am I. I had to work until 2 in the morning last night. My stupid son woke up at 6:30 in the morning. Yeah, no, I'm not in the best mood either. But
No, that stupid double overtime game last night. And then I went out last night. I shouldn't be going out after games anyway. I mean, I probably just shouldn't be going out anyway.
Sober? Did you stay sober?
Yeah. We're I don't know what it is, but it's over 3
Hot
weeks
damn.
now. Yeah. At a Lakers game and then going out last night?
Yeah. That's impressive, dude.
Congrats. And you know what the worst part was? I didn't even get to at the club last night. We had a table. And I didn't even get to have a club soda. I was just empty-handed. Our table, the table didn't have a water. I don't drink juice; it's too much sugar. Didn't have a water. Didn't have a club soda.
So if
you
go to a club,
like I was drinking.
If you go to a club and order a club soda, is it just a soda, or is it a club soda?
It's a sparkling water. I'm in a foul mood about that. And then now this just came up. Shams just sent this out about the dunk contest. And I'm in a bad mood about that. First of all, the dunk contest.
Well, no, I have something that'll put you in a better mood before we get to the McClung thing, which I think we're going to disagree on. But well, kind of.
Go ahead.
I
want to be in a better mood.
At FN All Bruins, UCLA football just picked up a commitment from Caltrans wide receiver J. Michael Sturdivant.
I am not in a good mood about this. I am
coming off of a freshman.
You did not even let me get to this. I am not in a good mood about this. That was going to be the other thing I said. You know what, though? Cal is back with Nike. So that I am in a good mood about.
Okay.
And Cal has done well bringing guys in from the transfer portal. But Sturdivant is a pretty huge loss. I've been arguing about
All
this
American.
On Twitter. He was a freshman All-American last year. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was probably Cal's best player last year. Probably. If you can be a freshman All-American, Cal's running back was also a freshman All-American. He was a true freshman, Jaden Ott. Thankfully, he is not left yet. But Sturdivant, I am not pleased about. If you can be, this is what I was arguing about on Twitter, because I don't like arguing about the Lakers anymore, because mostly it's just me and you arguing. So I figure we can do that.
You and iterations of me.
Yes. You have I don't know what they call it. We were talking about this in Slack about how old I am. So this came up in Slack about Taylor Swift and whatever her legion of followers and how aggressive they are on Twitter. So what do we call it? Like the Anthony Irwin Hive or the Army? Or I like the alliteration with the Anthony's Army.
Anthony's Army. That's fine. I'll take it. Anthony Army.
So I was.
No, you know who the best? You know who has the best version of that?
Nobody.
I'm trying to get it off the ground.
Nobody. It's weird.
No. I'm trying to get it off the ground. He writes for us. Alex Regla actually does a show with us on Taco Tuesdays too.
Right.
I'm trying to get the regulators out there.
Mount up. Yeah. That's actually a lot better. That's one of your better ones.
Yeah.
That bullshit you started the show with, the club, so that was terrible. But that's Alex Regulators.
Regulators!
Yeah, that's not bad.
And every time I do it, I get that song stuck in my head for the next 4 hours.
That is not bad.
I'll do it. I'll fire off that tweet. And then for 4 hours later, it was a cool black night.
So Greg Bergman, Bergie, used to, I don't know, work with for me, whatever.
710
and radio. Yeah. So now he's at 710. He's a big UCLA fan, and one of the Bruin sites, he retweeted it and asked to fucking troll me. Asked thoughts on this, and then added me, right. And it said something like, UCLA lands elite transfer or something like that, and I gave him the little scouting report, and some SC fan was like, call it elite, whatever. And my point was, and so we got into it. I'm like, anytime I'm gassing up something UCLA, I'm in a bad fucking mood. Stop making me do this, USC fan. It's bad. And I'm like,
no, I'm a UCLA fan.
I know you are. So here's the thing with Sturdivant. He was a freshman All-American last year with a very mediocre quarterback and a fucking terrible offensive line. If you can get a redshirt who will be a redshirt sophomore, if you can get a guy that was a redshirt All-American freshman, All-American last year with a mediocre quarterback and a terrible offensive line, that sounds pretty elite to me. Anyway, I don't want to talk about this anymore.
I'm pretty happy about it. I could keep talking about it. It's making me it's putting me in a better mood. But we won't.
I don't even have my Cal. I don't have mom's Cal hat. Hi, Mama, I love you. You're listening to this. I don't have my mom's Cal hat on. For those of you that are watch video, I have the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air's Dad, Why Don't You Love Me Anymore beanie on. But I do have my Niners. I do. I'm excited. You know what? I'm excited about my Niners tomorrow.
All right.
I'm excited about that. That will make me happy until they lose. And I have 47 people over I'm cooking for that I am not permitting to come to my house until the second game because I am not someone that should be seen watching a game I care about.
I feel like football in particular does that to people. Like I can be well, just in general, I'm not really an obnoxious fan anyway. Like I'll make
define more, obnoxious.
Like scream at the TV with other people around obnoxious.
Well, that's why I don't let any game like in basketball if it's an elimination game or if it can put whoever you're rooting for. For my rule is if it's an elimination game or if you lose, like if in a series, right? If it can be after 2 losses, if your team has 2 losses, right? So if they lose again, it puts them on the brink of elimination, or if it's an actual elimination game, I'm not watching with anybody. Like it's different if it's when I was traveling, that's different. Or if it's a home game, right? And I'm going to the home game, that's different. But like, if it's not that, just no, I will not watch it in public. No, I will not watch it with people. No. So everybody feel free. And by the way, Lakers fans out there, if you live in LA, you are welcome at my home tomorrow for who is it? It's Chargers Jags is the second game. You are welcome for that one. But I don't want to hear
it. Do not come over early.
No,
do not get there early.
No. Right. A friend of mine, I told her she could come over early. She's from up north also, a little outside of San Francisco. A friend of mine here that actually I met at a Lakers game a couple years ago. And I told her she could come over before everybody else only because she saw me the last time the Niners lost the Super Bowl. And so she's seen me at my Niners worst. I don't think she really cares, but she has seen me at my Niners worst already. So I was like, yeah, you come over early if you want.
Does sports bring you to tears? Has sports ever brought you to tears?
Sports has brought me to tears positively. Yes, I have cried over sports with wins, but never with losses. No, losses just make I just get angry.
Yeah, that's more me. Like the Dodgers
in my older days, in some of my previous days, in a less evolved version of Aaron, has brought me to violence on occasion. Anger and violence, but losses make me angry and violent. Sometimes wins can bring me to tears. Yes.
Now losses make me like sarcastic and like I just spit vile all over the place. Like last night, I was doing a pressure cooker for last night's game, and Stan Van Gundy, every single call was just like,
yeah, I heard. I saw he was like,
that's a
Cuban,
bad
right?
call.
Cuban,
Cuban
right
tweeted about how bad. And look, I agree that the referees were bad, but like
they were awful both ways, by the way.
According to Stan Van Gundy, they were only awful in Dallas's, to hurt Dallas, and it was just
that was earlier in the game, right?
I mean, just throughout the game, like there was a call.
No, but I mean, what Stan was referring to, like he sent that out earlier in the game, right?
Mark? You mean Mark?
No. Or he didn't send it out. I mean, he said it on the broadcast earlier in the game, right? And then because Cuban, I thought he agreed with him like in the third quarter, maybe.
Yeah, I was watching mostly with the sound off until late so that I could react to everybody else.
Why didn't you watch on Spectrum, but you don't live in LA?
I could have, but I think most people
because League Pass, you could watch it on League Pass. Yeah.
Yeah, but so I was watching it. I was watching the TNT feed last night because generally, like I do like Stan is one of my favorite ones. Like he's one of the better ones, I think. But last night, man, it was just so like every call. Like there was a call late in the game against Tim Hardaway Jr. as like a moving screen or something like that. And
they had a couple of them in a row, I think. Yeah.
Right. So they make that call on Tim Hardaway Jr. and he didn't like the call. He was like, "That's a bad no. That's a bad call. You can't make it in that spot." And then Troy Brown Jr. had the same call against him, and Stan liked that call. Stan was like,
Look,
"That's the right call."
it was
And it was like,
game was
but that's where I was like when you talk about how I watch games or my reaction to negative situations, usually I'll say, "Shut the bleep up, Stan." You know, like if I'm not on the air, like shut the. But like last time, I was like, Stan sounds like somebody who lost in the finals to the Lakers. You know, and like I just can't help myself in those moments. That's where I don't like to watch games that I care about around people, because every so often they'll make a snide comment, and then I'll just kind of like fire off a laser that goes directly into their soul. And I regret that. I
look,
do regret that.
every fan base thinks their team is getting cheated every game.
Yeah.
And there's a conspiracy against them. People think of it with media coverage too. Like, you hate my, everybody in national that covers the
Yeah.
NBA nationally. People think that everybody, whoever.
Look, Joe Buck does hate the Lakers. When he was doing Cardinals games
Joe
with
Buck hates the Lakers?
with his dad's Cardinals,
Like
Jack
St. Louis
Buck's,
Cardinals.
yeah,
right?
Jack Buck's
Okay.
Cardinals. When
I'm
he's
waiting
doing
for the
Cardinals
connection.
Dodgers games, he hates the Dodgers. Yeah.
Oh, well, okay, fine. But you
I'm
said
gonna say
Lakers. I'm like, why does he hate the Lakers?
Oh, I don't know.
I was
That
like,
would be
wait, I'm
great.
waiting for the connection here.
That'd be great if he was just like,
Oh,
fuck
like-
all of LA. Look,
the game
I would
was-
respect it because that's how I feel about the Bay
The game was terribly officiated. I mean, you can point to all kinds of stuff.
and Boston.
The 2-minute report is going to be like a novel, I would imagine. And
Oh my
actually,
God.
I don't know the answer to this. So this is
If
interesting.
it's going to cover overtimes, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if the 2-minute report does. If it goes
It's
to
going to be the
overtime,
12-minute report.
if it goes to overtime and then a second overtime, does the 2-minute report cover
Just
only the
keep
last
going?
2 minutes of whatever the final
Oh,
period
right.
is?
That'd be funny.
Or do they do 2 minutes for the
Yeah.
fourth, 2 minutes for the first overtime, and 2 minutes for the second overtime? I know
Or
the NBA as well
12
as anybody
minutes.
that is not like, well, whatever. I don't know the answer to that. I always know the answer to these weird NBA questions.
Yeah.
Usually it's just like CBA stuff. I don't know the answer to that.
Somebody
be the
asked me and I was
6-minute?
going to ask you, and I don't know.
Will it be the 6-minute report this time?
I kind of think it has to be the 12-minute report. Like, why would they stop the report?
No, you do the 2 minutes of the fourth, the last 2 minutes of the fourth, the last 2 minutes of the first
Yeah.
overtime, the last 2 minutes of the second.
All I
overtime.
really care about is the Troy Brown call. Because
it was a
thought
foul.
that was a
It was a
foul.
foul. Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
It was.
All right.
And what I didn't, the first overtime, Christian Wood stole the tap. That wouldn't be in the last 2 minutes. That was the start of the first overtime, but he stole. You know what? Now I'm getting angry again.
There was another one too where LeBron was in the tip against like Dinwiddie or something like that, and LeBron wasn't even set.
I was furious. I'm like, if LeBron loses this, first of all, he's a better athlete. Yes, LeBron's old. He's also 5 inches
But he wasn't
taller.
set. He was like, they kept switching his
couldn't
feet.
jump before he blew out his ACL.
Yeah.
But
he kept, but like Dinwiddie and everybody kept moving, and then the ball was up in the air, and LeBron was like, "Hold on, what?"
Yeah.
Like that was weird.
The other part, I mean, it was a terribly officiated game. The other part of it that is fascinating is like,
and that stupid clear path foul that they called. Oh my God.
Between Luka and
take foul?
Luka and LeBron and Russ, they are three of the biggest complainers in the league. I mean, Luka is the biggest complainer in the league.
Yeah.
But between those three, those are like definitely 3 of the top 10.
Yeah.
Joker is in there. Trey is in. I mean, but like Luka's number 1, but LeBron and Russ will complain about some calls.
Yeah.
And when I say that, it's so much so that it affects their team because Luka, LeBron, like all these guys complain and like complain enough where
they'll
they
like
just
stop playing.
right? They just like, hey, Bron, you're right.
Yeah.
But they've got a 4-on-2 the other way now.
No, Phil Jackson used to coach against certain players and keep that in his scouting report. It's like, hey, if you're guarding this guy and you get away with a foul, hustle because that person's not going to make their way down the court. The other version of it was against San Antonio. He used to say that Manu falls a lot. So if you're guarding Manu, make sure you hustle down on the break because Manu's going to be falling and crawling through camera people all the time on the other end of the court. So
to be fair, LeBron did get fouled. That one, Christian Wood, like his left elbow. I mean, okay, yeah. I mean, guys miss calls all the time, but like, fine. But yeah, it was a poorly officiated game. It is
Yeah.
not a conspiracy against the Lakers,
What I didn't like was just, like,
but it
I
was
didn't
terribly
think
officiated.
I think calls get missed sometimes,
Yes.
like that just happens. That
Yes.
they are human.
Yes.
Obviously the bigger the moment. Like the one that annoyed me, and I said it on air, is like, you're standing right there. You're looking for one thing.
Wait, which
How do
one?
you
In
miss the
reference to
call
which
on
call?
Troy Brown? On Troy
Oh,
Brown. Like, because there's a
well, did you
there's
see
a referee right there.
Did you see they
But
did
then
the whatever they do
the pool
the
report.
pool reporter
Yeah.
asked the ref, and
Yeah,
he
the
said
referee. I thought
he
I did a good job.
he
Fuck
touched the
off.
ball. He got a piece of the ball first, and then there was some
Yeah.
high five contact, which is
Yeah, but
legal, and the call was right.
there was also like shoulder to shoulder contact, and yeah. But
And
anyway,
here's
like
the other thing. Here's the
the
people
one that
are
the one that I really hated though was
Yes.
the take foul, where Luka is the furthest guy away from the basket he's going to be trying to score on with the ball. And it was a dumb foul by Russ. Don't get me wrong. Like, at the end of the day, you can't cross check somebody.
It was more of a hip check.
But
And then Russ got his Jordan Clarkson on. He looked like he was getting ready to square up and do something.
What was weird though is that, like, Russ even calms down people aggressively, because it seemed like that's what he was doing. Was like, because he got up and
actually, my favorite part of all this is, like, then there was
he like pat Luka on the back of the head. He was like, "Calm down." Like,
I actually just was really enjoying. Like, LeBron spent like the entire second half of the fourth quarter, it seemed like, in consultation with the refs. Like, there were so many stoppages, and every time it would be like LeBron, maybe Luka, maybe Jason Kidd, and the refs. And then there's AD street club. Like, AD is finding his way into all those discussions.
Yeah.
Like,
AD while he's been out has been really funny to watch on the sideline.
Over there, you were moving over there pretty quickly, brother. Feeling a little better.
I hope so. But yeah, the take foul, like I said, people miss calls. That happens all the time. But when you implement, I think, a rule incorrectly, that's where I have a problem with it. Because that seemed like the implementation of the rule was wrong. But whatever, we don't have to keep talking.
Here's another, like, frustrating for Lakers fans thing, is that everybody that I was sitting with, was up in arms about, okay, of course it was a foul on Troy Brown, but at least, like, go look at it, right? Or somebody challenge something. Well, you can't, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's like I like in the NFL, right? Like, if there is a pass interference call, you can go look at it. If there's no whistle, there's nothing to look at, right? You can't go look at or challenge or anything a non-call. Yeah. Same thing with LeBron, or LeBron's foul.
Right. Like, people were saying that LeBron asking for the challenge on the one foul that got moved over to Thomas Bryant anyway, that cost them the ability to challenge the Troy Brown call. It's like, no, that's not true, because you can't challenge something that wasn't.
You can't challenge a non-call. And let's also be clear, that was a successful challenge, because the foul, even though it was still a foul, it got switched to Thomas Bryant. So that is a successful challenge. And shout out to JP, John Pastoric, who is generally in charge of the challenges. And I was critical. I didn't know, he's a friend of mine. I didn't know that he was in charge of the challenges. And so I, on Twitter, I don't know, some weeks back, mentioned that I didn't like using the challenge there, even though I thought that, I think it was a Thomas Bryant foul or something like that.
He's like,
he texted me my own, like, after the game, he texted me my own tweet, and he goes, respectfully, fuck off. I'm in charge. That. I'm in charge of the challenges, and we haven't gotten one wrong this year. So last night during the game, I texted. He obviously won't see it until after the game. I texted him, good challenge. Are you still undefeated?
Yeah.
And he said, I don't know. He said I think he's 8-1. He said he's 8-1 now.
So the other reason that you're apparently in a foul mood, though, 20 minutes into the show still, is that Mac McClung is going to be allowed to participate in the slam dunk contest.
Yeah.
I don't really care. Like, the slam dunk contest at this point sucks. Like, it's just never good.
So kill it. Then kill it.
Well, no. Here's my thing. I got a lot of shit for this, and I should have phrased it better. But I think, and I'm probably going to get shit for this now that I say it again, but, like, I think that I kind of sort of think LeBron has some blame for the dunk contest dying the way that it has.
What?
Oh boy, yeah. What? I know that was most people's response, and
What?
fine, but like
You sound
for a
like
long
Skip. What are
time,
you doing here?
well, for a long time, everybody participated in the slam dunk contest. Everybody, every single superstar came along. Kobe won a slam dunk contest. Uh, obviously Michael won slam dunk contests, plural. He went up against
Yeah,
Dominique Wilkins, who was also a superstar. Vince Carter was a
yeah.
superstar when he did it. Um,
Okay.
and so, like, at least early in their careers, they would do it. Maybe they didn't continue doing them. Like Kobe didn't keep doing them for the rest of his career. Um, but like the only person who kind of broke that chain and I think had a ripple effect across the entirety of NBA's culture is LeBron, where he came in and you're thinking like, oh, here's this guy. He can jump out of the gym. He's the face of the NBA. I can't wait to see him try and do the slam dunk contest. And he never went out and did it. And I think it kind of I really think that it took hold with everybody else coming up in the league where they're like, if you're at a certain stature, the dunk contest is now somehow beneath you. I think that's why, the dunk contest has died. I was hoping somebody would come along and change that approach to it from everybody else. But for most of these guys, they're looking at it like, why would I take this L?
Yeah,
Like
I mean,
LeBron.
yes,
LeBron
fine.
essentially said, like, I don't have anything to gain from doing this
Correct, and he
because
doesn't.
if I win, I should have won. I'm LeBron, and if I lose, I lost to somebody who is worse at this than I am. And it's just like
So,
that's fine, but that's not really the competitor's way of approaching it.
okay, a bunch of things here.
All right.
One, like it's not LeBron's responsibility. The dunk contest, in my opinion, sucks because we've seen everything and nobody like
Yeah.
can do anything different really.
Hmm.
And I don't care about like the stars. For me, the stars are for the game, not the other stuff, right? Like not the dunk contest. Um,
But you
and
get
what
stars
I
for
want
the
to see, what
3-point
I want to see, you know who I
contest.
want to see? I want to see the best dunkers. I don't care about like the stars. I want to see the
Oh,
best
sure.
dunks.
But I think some of the stars are your best dunkers. Like
I
Zion
think LeBron
is
is
one
one
of
of
the best dunkers.
I think LeBron, though there's a big difference between being I think LeBron is one of the best dunkers we've ever seen ever
Hmm.
in game. There's a big difference between in game and not in game. Um yeah, I just want to see like people do amazing shit and they can't anymore. Well, it's not that they can't anymore, but
They
like
can't do new amazing shit.
yeah, I mean like there is there is a limit to what is humanly
Human
possible. And
evolution. Yeah.
again, we talk about all the time that evolves, but and the athletes evolve. But over 5 years and 10 years, like there's not much more. You know, if you said 200 years from now, could people
Yeah.
do something? Yes, but like every year, no. It's like so now
So
it's what kind
we
of
should do
props can
like
I
every
use?
10 years we should do a dunk contest. Actually,
Now it's
that
like
would
what kind of
get
props can I use? Like Shaden Sharp, I'm in.
yeah.
Mac McClung, I'm out.
Yeah.
Yes,
Well,
I
that's
know
just
he's a
like
six, yes, I know
white
he's a
guy.
6'2" white guy, and that's gonna be he's not in the NBA. That's my
Yeah.
problem with it. He's not in the NBA.
Well, all right. Here's my thing. I would like to have the G League represented in more of this stuff. Like I would like,
Okay, you know what? Fine. If you just tell me it's a G League thing, fine. Like the
no, but
G
I
League.
think you can make it a tradition where like one or two G League guys get to come out
Okay, so if you're
and
going to do
participate in the
that,
dunk
if you're
contest.
going to do that, why not bring in one or two
Professional
professional dunkers?
dunkers, I
Yeah,
agree.
why not?
Yes, I
They're not
agree.
NBA players, so what's the difference?
100%. Well, because if the point of it
Because
is to
they'll
like
embarrass
spice
the
up the
NBA
event,
players.
if the point of it is to spice up the event, bring in the professional dunkers. That'd be fun too.
But
That'd be great.
you know why they don't? Because they would win and
Because they would
embarrass
wax
the
the
NBA players.
yeah.
Which
But
is
like
like
whatever. I mean, whatever. Like I don't think Shaden Sharp's gonna care if he gets beaten by somebody whose entire profession is dunking.
no, yeah, but then
But like
that
honestly,
goes against your
Shaden Sharp's
earlier
entire
point.
profession is dunking. So
No, it is not. But Shaden Sharp is that boy. that boy's got some lift.
every time I see him play,
I
I'm
am
like,
excited to watch him actually.
actually, one of my favorite games that I've ever been to, I went to, and this was back when the Lakers sucked, and they had Wesley Johnson,
Johnson, yeah, the number
and
4, yeah, number 4 overall pick in the which draft?
that was a Steph draft, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. Um,
it
so
was it was Blake, Thabit, Harden,
Oof, the beat.
Johnson, Rubio,
Johnny
Johnny
Flynn.
Flynn, and Steph. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oops.
Um,
I mean, that's a great draft. I mean,
so Wesley Johnson, though, I remember watching him play, and we just happened to get tickets because the Lakers were so terrible. Like you could get really good back then. I didn't have any money to my name, and
Mhm.
you could get really good Lakers tickets for super cheap because the Lakers were such shit. So like we went and we sat in the lower bowl, and my head was essentially like level with the rim.
Okay.
And I remember like watching Wesley Johnson in particular, and it drove me insane that guy wasn't better at basketball or better in the NBA because he spent the entirety of the game above my head. Like he was just
Yeah, Wes,
floating.
Wes is like 6'9" and had some bounce too.
Yeah, like he was just you look at him and you're like, how is this guy not incredible? How is this guy not even like a high level role player? Like what the hell is going on? But here we are.
So
Ask
here's the
Kevin
thing.
Ding. He'll tell you why. But
So I think the rule should be like I don't care if they're two-way guys. I don't care if they're guys that are currently in the G League, but Mac has played 4 NBA games in his life and none
yeah,
this season.
I mean, I think the NBA
I
knows
think
what they're doing there.
I think you have to appear in one NBA game. Like at what is he eligible for the game? Is he eligible for the All-Star game?
No, Aaron, we know what the NBA is doing there. Like every place that he's been this cult hero where the fans really want him and the fans are
So
pissed when he gets
I
let
know
go of.
Warriors fans can't stand him.
Yeah.
And a lot of
Can't
Laker
stand
fans are
him.
not. Mac, yeah.
I thought it was more that Warriors fans were upset that he got waived.
No,
I know
no, because
Brady
he was like in preseason, he was taking shots from everybody. He was like,
Br-
and in summer league, remember, I think he
Yeah.
started this on the Lakers summer league team. And then
Yeah.
what's funny about the summer league is like everybody's a free agent, so you just be like, oh wait, you literally play for like 8 summer league teams in the same summer league. You just kind of
Yeah.
move around if you want. It's like you go to the. You're playing in like a rec league and you only have 4, and like the guy
Yeah.
that played in the game before, you're like, hey man, can you come? No, Warriors fans were pretty frustrated with him, like taking shots from everybody.
Huh.
I just think
Brady, who runs Golden State of Mind, was saying that like for a long time they just kept getting comment after comment after comment about how they were going to regret letting him go, and he just kept
Sure.
rolling his eyes.
Yeah, sure.
It's like
Sure.
we really rude that
Yeah,
day.
the Lakers will regret it too, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there
Well,
needs to be a
McClung
rule.
came on the heels of Caruso, so everybody was like latched on to McClung. It was like new Russo, Canuso. Like it was just
Yeah, awesome
he was
too.
way worse. Couldn't do
Why
any of those
not?
things.
I think there needs to be like if you're eligible for all of its exhibition, can fans vote Mac McClung in if they want to see him so bad? Can he be voted in as a starter?
What for the game?
Big game.
No,
What's the
I
difference?
think the
They're
game.
all exhibitions.
The
What's the
game is
difference?
clearly, dude. The game is clearly held in higher regard than the dunk contest.
Zaza
And the
Pachulia almost got voted in twice.
And the NBA, and they completely rethought the way that they do stuff after that. Clearly the NBA cares more about the game, and they're trying to find a way to fix the dunk contest.
I mean, women from the WNBA, I don't know if they still do this, but they used to do the pick a city and it would be one current player.
Oh,
no.
Yeah, I like that. I like that event.
Is it the skills? No.
Yeah, it used to be the skill. It used to be like the skills. It was like a Hall of Fame or a current player and a WNBA
from the
player.
same city, right?
Yeah, I like that event. I enjoyed that one.
It would be it would be James Harden and Kenny Smith and a woman that played for the Houston Comets. They still exist.
What I always felt like, I always felt so
Mac
sad,
McClung is
though.
going to be in the dunk contest and he has not played in the NBA this season, make him eligible for everything. Can he be in the 3-point contest?
He can't shoot.
Could he theoretically be in the 3-point contest?
And he can't play. Like the thing with the thing with the NBA,
Kobe was not the
game
best shooter either, and was in the 3-point. It's not about that necessarily. Kobe was in the 3-point shootatout.
Why don't I remember that? I remember he did the dunk contest, but I don't.
I'm pretty sure Kobe was in the 3-point shootout.
All right, Kobe.
And by the way, like Rudy Fernandez, when I was in Portland, was in the dunk contest and he couldn't dunk, and he was terrible in the dunk contest.
Says Kobe was replaced at one point by Dirk Nowitzki in a 3-point competition.
Okay. Maybe he was scheduled to be in it, but didn't actually participate. Here's my point.
Maybe it was the year he broke his finger or something.
I think you should be eligible for all of it or none of it, and I think you should have to play one game, one. I don't care if two-way guys that are currently in the G League, have been up and down. I don't care if Cole Swider wants to be in the 3-point shootout. Fine. I think you have to have appeared in one NBA game to be eligible for these things.
Yeah, I mean, like,
this season,
I guess.
season.
I just don't hold. I think the NBA is clearly trying to find some way to get more people to care about the dunk contest again, without paying people to win the dunk contest. And then the other thing too is, like,
pay people. No, you do. You get a little check. It's not great.
Yeah, a little something.
It's not huge, but you get a little check.
I'm saying, like,
I think it's like $50,000 maybe.
Right, but I'm saying, like, if you wanted better players doing it, right? If you wanted the competition,
how much would they
to
have to do to get a 38-year-old LeBron James? How much do you think they would have to pay him?
The Las Vegas team, like the Las Vegas expansion team,
right? These are discussions they're having, right? Because they're
that's it.
Trying to get his
Adam Silver
in.
Tell LeBron if he does the dunk contest this year, he gets Las Vegas. He gets the Las Vegas whatever NBA.
No, he has to win it.
Even better.
Giving him an appearance fee, but then he has to win the dunk contest.
Even better.
Ownership.
Even better. Yeah.
Then
LeBron's over there paying the judges, like, just
Dikembe Mutombo is holding up 100s. You get the little Sprite sign with the 10 and the two 10s and put the one behind the first time, so it's 100. Definitely Dikembe Mutombo move.
I like it. All right, let's move on to actual NBA stuff. So we are going to talk about the Atlanta Hawks situation, which is fascinating to me, on a variety of levels. And then if we have some time here at the very end, we're going to look back on the season that has been, now that we have just crossed the halfway point. The Atlanta thing. So Sam Amick of The Athletic wrote this big long thing on the situation in Atlanta and how Travis Schlenk, what it's looked like as Travis Schlenk has moved on, some of the moving parts and some of the people involved with getting him to move on, and now what their front office kind of looks like now that he has moved on. He got some, I thought, really interesting reaction from some of the players. He spoke to DeJounte Murray about the situation. He tried to talk to Trae Young. Trae Young wasn't giving him anything. And then he spoke to, at the very end of it, he spoke to, why am I blanking on his name? John Collins. And as he was talking to John Collins, I thought John Collins had the most interesting answer of anybody who offered one up. And we'll get to more parts of this. But just from, like, the player's standpoint, this is where it's really important to keep in mind when we talk about, busts or people not living up to contracts or caliber of play and all of this stuff. One thing that we have to keep in mind is how much of the game is just beyond these players' control. John Collins clearly seems to be a Travis Schlenk guy. And Travis Schlenk, to this point, they've been trying to trade John Collins, but his price has been super high because apparently Schlenk really liked Collins. Now that Schlenk is gone, John Collins' price has really dropped. It's dropped to a point, by the way, where, like, I think the Lakers should maybe look into it.
Well, but to be fair, it's not just that Schlenk isn't there that's dropped the price. It's that, and maybe
everything,
and maybe due to a lot of this turmoil, he's not been any good. I think he's a good player. He's not going to guard nobody. But I think he's a good player, but he's been bad. So, yeah.
That's my point, though.
That's like diminished his value, trade value also.
But I think, like, at a certain extent, John Collins has spent the last, like, 3 years on the trade block. And eventually that's just going to get really difficult to play in that kind of a situation. And like, whatever team trades for him, I think they're going to get a significantly better player.
He is a guy that screams needs a new location.
Just get out of there.
Start.
Yeah. I would really like to see him in Sacramento. I think that, like, kind of situation would really bode well for him. Phoenix, I guess, has been interested, and there are some other teams that apparently have been interested. I don't think the Lakers have the pieces to make this work because they're looking for a win now player in return for him, and the Lakers don't have very many of those guys.
That's the report said.
The report
said that they might be willing to do a deal without even a draft pick, just a good current NBA player.
Yeah.
As it relates to the Lakers, the salary stuff is difficult because
Yeah.
he makes 25, I think it is,
Yeah.
which is right in between, the Russ area and the Pat Bev area
Yeah.
in terms
It's
of
hard to
contract.
combine
Hard to come
contracts
up
to
with
get to
close to
that level.
25.
Yeah.
Even like you put the draft pick thing aside, put the quality player aside, like just financially, I don't think it's possible.
No.
Like
Like
Pat is,
Atlanta would have to add
unless Atlanta
more.
sends something back, and you can use the Russ contract. Unless Atlanta is sending back, another 12 to 16. No, excuse, that
No,
wouldn't
it's
be enough.
more.
It would have to be like 16
20.
to 20, somewhere in
Yeah.
that range, unless Atlanta can find 16 to 20 million dollars in contracts to send back.
Yeah.
And they got rid of what they thought was dead contract weight with Herder, so they don't have a lot of stuff that they might be willing to get there
Which
with either.
looks
I mean, I
stupid
don't
as
know. That's
hell
not fair.
after
That's
the
not fair. That is not fair. They clearly were trying to duck the tax with Herder.
Yeah.
I don't think they thought of him as dead salary. I think they thought of him. I know they thought of him as, this is somebody
Useful,
we can duck the
but
tax with.
yeah, well, good call,
And
Atlanta.
they did. And they have.
And Schlenk has been relieved of his duties. But
Let
like
me say
I
something
think
about that too.
uh-huh.
This is, see, now we're gonna get, man, this is when unnamed cognac would be would be wonderful here. Because it is delicious still, even though I'm not drinking it, it is still delicious.
Yeah, that is true.
When we knew when he was, being a senior advisor, got moved to a senior advisor role, like Lindsey in Utah, that it was done. However, Lindsey was still kind of in the mix. Schlenk was not in the mix, period. He has been doing nothing. He literally has been doing, I'm not going to tell you how I know this. I just know this.
Well, according to the report,
he is not
too,
like involved at all.
they told him, go find another job if you want
Now
another job.
that has come out now. No, not go find one. You are open to. Why do they want to do that? Then they don't have to pay him.
Yeah.
Right? But he is like, since he's been gone, he is literally not participating in any of it. He's not doing anything. He is being paid to do literally nothing.
Yeah.
So
it's my life. It's not my life, my dream. My life. You asked me last night. I got paid to do way too damn much. But no, I think, and this is the other part of this. Like I wanted to start with John Collins though, just because like I really think we have become pretty insensitive to the human beings that we're actually watching participate in these sports. And I think you watch John Collins and you watch his game kind of slide, especially this season. Of course it's going to slide. Like that is just, I couldn't do my job if the entire time I was doing my job, I had an executive standing over there on the phone, finding a way to get somebody else who is not me to be doing my job. Like that would be really difficult. That would really suck. And I think, when we talk about who is playing well and who's doing what, and especially as it pertains to like prospects, right? Like James Wiseman is somebody who I've mocked as Hashim turn up the beat, and I think
he is a SoundCloud rapper.
He is, but like I think his situation is a really difficult one because he knows the fans of that organization are just like, wait, we could trade this guy and we can go out and get somebody who solidifies us as the champions this year. He knows the players that he's teammates with are looking at him probably in much of the same way.
Maybe.
And his body isn't really working in the way that he wanted it to when he got to the NBA. And so he's just said, like, I just think, even while I make that joke about him, I think we tend to forget, like, why some of these things turn out the way that they do.
To be fair about the Wiseman thing, like as it compares to John Collins, like Wiseman's also, he's a kid, right? He's not even 21 yet.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, it hasn't gone how you would want. That is not easy. I do, as it relates to the Lakers though, I do want you to give me some flowers because you and I argue about this a lot. This is like how the NBA is. And I know obviously for Lakers fans, it's not just Lakers fans, but fans of any team focus on their team, and whatever is happening with their team feels like something different, something special, something specific. And what I keep reminding you and everybody else is this is the NBA. Who is the decision maker for the Lakers, and why are friends and family around in these decisions and involved in negotiations or whatever. And I keep telling you, this is every NBA front office. It seems specific to the Lakers, but it isn't. It is every, right?
Go look at the good ones.
What's that?
Not bullshit. Normally the good ones.
No. Bullshit. Who is the team of the last decade?
Well, all right.
No, answer my question. Who's the team of the last decade?
Fine, the Warriors.
Okay, but and do you know who is involved in all of their decision making and who is their assistant GM?
Lacob's son, whose name I'm forgetting. Yeah,
Kirk Lacob. This is how it works, right? It was the owner of the Hawks. His son is like one of the guys, maybe second in command there, maybe, and has a huge voice, pushed out Schlenk in a power play, and his and I didn't know this.
Nick Kessler's
and I didn't know this, but apparently
the other Kessler's son.
Apparently his like best friend is their cap guy.
Something like that. Yeah. Actually, I wanted to.
This is how. Yeah, I wanted to read this. NBA works.
This is wild.
People that have owner. Hold on.
To your point, can I detail it? Can I detail it really quick?
Go ahead. Yeah.
All right. So. From Sacramento to and I'm reading this from The Athletic and the piece that Sammy Amick wrote for it. From San Francisco to Sacramento to LA, the pregame scene and the Hawks officials within it was the same. General manager Landry Fields, a 34-year-old former NBA player who was elevated from assistant general manager in June, who now heads the front office after the shake-up. By the way, 34. Good God, man. What am I doing with my life? And who previously worked for the San Antonio Spurs as a scout and general manager of their G League team. Nick Kessler, the 27-year-old son of Hawks owner Tony Ressler. Nick Ressler, 27-year-old son of Tony Ressler, who had increased influence on roster and staffing decisions during his time in the team's director of business and basketball operations starting in December of 2020. Ryan Silverstein, the team's coordinator of cap strategy and administration, and like you said, Aaron, a close friend of Nick Ressler's, who, according to his LinkedIn page, became a front office assistant for the Hawks in September 2017. And Grant Liftman, somebody who I'm pretty sure like you would maybe know a little bit.
Yeah, he played at Stanford, and was covering. No, he was on a show with a dude that played at Stanford, but he's been covering. He covered the Warriors and did podcasts and stuff.
The 35-year-old who spent his last 6 seasons covering Golden State as a media member for NBC Sports Bay Area, and who was hired as a pro personnel scout in June, and is close friends with Landry Fields. So,
maybe he did play at Stanford because Fields played at Stanford. I don't remember if it was Liftman that played at Stanford or the dude he did the show with played at Stanford. Was like a walk-on maybe at Stanford. But yeah, and Landry. Maybe it is Grant because Landry Fields played at Stanford also.
So the reason I read all of that stuff is like, to your point, when we talk about nepotism and cronyism in not just in the NBA but across professional sports, it does run rampantly. The one thing I would kind of push back on when you're talking about, organizations that run well despite that nepotism or cronyism, the Warriors, I think we have seen now. Some of it might just be the age and natural decline of the players and who are cornerstones of that organization. But the Warriors, like as Kirk Lacob has assumed more and more power, that situation has gotten more and more difficult to kind of navigate like that. I think that's kind of objectively.
Well, and by the way, to bring this full circle, I mean, there is a school of thought that there has been a brain drain from the Warriors, and that has caused some of their demise, if you want to call it that. Although I would remind everybody, they are the current NBA champions, much like the Lakers have won a title very recently. But yes, you could make that argument. I would say that probably has less to do with Kirk Lacob and more to do with the brain drain of, I mean, even Jerry West, but then more recently, to bring this full circle, Travis Schlenk was their assistant GM for quite some time, and was very well thought of, which is why he got the Atlanta job. My point though is this, like, because we're all Lakers fans and on a Lakers podcast and Lakers feed, and what you and I your world and my world revolves around the Lakers primarily. I know to you it feels like a Lakers thing, right?
No, it
And
isn't.
but it isn't, right? That's the point.
Yeah.
It isn't.
And
And
it's never
maybe to you
felt
it
that
doesn't
way.
feel
Like,
like a Lakers
I don't
thing.
know if I've given off that
You have
sentiment.
presented it as a Lakers thing, but that's because
No.
what your perspective is. My point,
Well,
though, is like,
I cover the Lakers. Like,
right? Yeah, fair,
I've said
fair.
this
And you're a
specifically that,
huge
like,
fan of the Lakers. Fair.
it's kind of like when you know, when I was a kid and I would see some other kid doing something stupid, and I would say to my parents, "Hey, how come that kid gets to do that stupid thing?" My parents would say, "Well,
That's
because
not my kid.
you're my kid. I don't have to care about that kid." It's like when
Fine.
I see this stupid thing with Atlanta, I'm like, and people and you know, it gets presented as, you know, see, the Lakers aren't the only ones. I'm like, yeah, but I don't care about Atlanta.
Yeah, I understand. I understand. But my point is, it's not just Atlanta. It's everybody.
Oh, sure.
This is and this is, you say that like sometimes, and you've told people that listen, like, don't yell at Aaron. He's not necessarily like caping for, standing for, holding water for the
No,
Lakers.
he's offering context.
I'm offering context and perspective because I've worked in the NBA forever. I've been around the league forever. This is what it is. And the reason for that is and I'm telling you, it's everywhere.
This is
It's
how
not,
the world works.
it's not just the Lakers. It's not just the Lakers
Yeah.
and Atlanta. It's not just the Lakers and Atlanta and Golden State. It is literally every team in the NBA. And the reason for that, it's human nature. People, especially people that are as wealthy and as powerful as NBA owners, they have to have a built-in fear of getting like taken advantage of all of this sort of thing. And
Mhm.
so they want, it's human nature. They want to be around people that they trust. They want to be
Yeah.
around people that they feel have their best interest in mind. Right? Like if you win the lottery, like you got to look around, like you want to hang out with all of your friends from when you were living in your car, right? Because like you got to look around kind of crazy at all these new people. Like, why are you here? What is it
Yeah.
that you actually want?
No,
So
I get that. I do. And I understand why it's being said, and it is important to keep in mind this stuff. But, you know, I think still, even with that in mind,
mhm.
the best organizations or the most successful organizations somehow try to find a balance there. And I think that's where I think the balance is kind of out of whack. Clearly here, where you have a bunch of, you know, mid to late 20 to mid to late 30 year olds running this thing, and now like the piece does say that Tony Ressler is thinking about bringing in somebody with some more experience, kind of an adult in the room here with this, you know, to help these young people.
Wait, like Kyle Korver, who just got
Well,
promoted to assistant
not
GM?
now. I don't think he qualifies, because I think Kyle Korver is also like 35.
Yeah, 35. Yeah, something
You
like
know,
that.
so
Yeah.
like, yeah, it's not somebody like, they're going to need more experience. And I think that's been my point here with the Lakers too, is that like, you know, you look at the people who are working here with the Lakers, and the person with the most experience is Kurt Rambis, and it's not great experience. So like I say here, like you know, to your point, it is prevalent everywhere, but I think the best organizations find a way to balance that. And I think Dr. Buss did a really good job of this too back in the day, where he wanted to see Jim Buss positioned and Johnny Buss positioned with these various sports teams that he headed up at the time, and ready to carry on his legacy. But he also paired, you know, Jim Buss with Mitch Kupchak, and he paired Jim Buss with Jerry West, and he had those people working together, so that if that time came, when that time came, hopefully Jim Buss would be prepared to take that over. My only thing is, clearly Jim wasn't, you know, and I don't know if there is a way to prepare yourself for that when that is always the destined end game. I don't think there is a way to like learn your way up through the ranks in this world when you're competing against people who are fighting tooth and nail to get there. I don't think so. Like,
I mean, maybe not. Maybe there is though, because I think that you feel, and I'm not even necessarily disagreeing with you, that the most capable people, as it relates to the Lakers, involved in all of this are Jesse and Joey.
yeah,
And
maybe.
they've done a really great job with scouting and the G League and draft, all of that kind of thing. And they have been elevating, and their voice continues to elevate within the organization. So maybe you can. My point is though, as it relates to like Joey and Jesse and Linda and Kurt, like this is how it works.
Yeah.
The Lakers are not an outlier. It is
No.
not like what the fuck are the Lakers doing? How do they have so and 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 so, like in these meetings, or maybe having a voice? And look at all these people. Oh, it's collaborative. Look at all these people that, too many cooks in the kitchen, according to Magic, right? Bullshit. This is how it is. There are friends and family around every single team, and in various capacities, they have some power and some influence on decision making.
Okay. And
it's just how it is.
All right, so if the Lakers were more successful than they have been these last couple seasons, nobody would care. Those teams like
Sure.
Warriors fans right now, like there is probably a lot of concern with people who are paying super close attention to Kirk's influence over the organization, and whether a day might come where a really good GM gets pushed out for the sake of Kirk Lakeup. Like that, if I was a Warriors fan, that'd be something I'd be nervous about for sure. But so long as they're winning, who gives a shit? We're winning. Like,
yes, I know it seems like 100 years ago to Lakers fans. I understand, but
if the last two seasons were decent,
there's hardware from pretty recently.
But if the last two seasons were even decent, Aaron, we wouldn't be having this conversation as often as we would.
I get it. I'm not sure. I'm not trying to convince you of anything. I am just offering the context that this is not a Lakers thing. This is an NBA thing, and it obviously goes beyond the NBA to every other sport and every other business. But it is different in sports because there is something specific about trading players and signing players and drafting players and being able to scout that. That's very different than my son's, my son runs the lumber company. It is a very different thing.
Well,
right?
Look, it's something.
This is an NBA thing, not a Lakers thing, is my point.
The thought always crosses my mind, when I'm sitting here, and every so often Avery will come and jump up on my lap, and she'll see the two screens and the bright buttons and stuff, and she'll get all excited. The other day, we actually have a clip of her and I singing "Let It Go" into the microphone, and it was like this really cool thing. At some point, the thought's going to cross my mind that I hopefully reach a point here where my kids will benefit from nepotism, but also at that point, I would hopefully be not blinded by my affection for my kids, and care also about the product, and hope that they produce the best product here. And I think that's the tough thing. And it's way easier for me to say right now when neither of my kids speak proper English. But
to be fair, it's not an English thing. Neither of your kids speak proper anything.
Yeah, right. It's way easier for me to say this and hope that I get this right 20, 30 years down the line, or whatever, 20, 25 years down the line. Right now though, we do know that nepotism has derailed some empires. Nepotism has, cronyism has gotten in the way of human evolution, it says, and economic evolution, like that. It is, in my opinion, one of the grand plagues on society. And
my point is singling out the
it
Lakers
is still it. I'm not
unfair.
Saying, I'm not. I
understand why your focus is the Lakers, but singling out the Lakers is unfair.
I single out the Lakers because this is a Lakers podcast.
I understand, but inherent in that, or the assumption in that, is singling them out because they are doing something, they are doing this in a way that other teams aren't. The Lakers need to fix this because they are running things improperly. Okay, if they are, everybody's running things improperly. The Lakers aren't different, is my point.
Right, but if the Lakers were running things improperly and it was leading to success, nobody would have anything to say about it. But right now, the Lakers are still outside of the play-in despite having LeBron and AD. So clearly it's not running improperly to proper success, and whatever needs to be done. It's
won a title pretty recently.
It's just like with Tony Ressler, right? He's thinking about bringing in actual experience here to help these young people, relatively young people, in this industry. I don't think it would be the worst thing to bring in a little bit more success to the operation the Lakers are running. I don't
I
think
don't.
that's
I don't. I'm not. I'm not going to disagree with that.
yeah.
That's fair. That's fair. How it is going now is not abnormal for the NBA.
No.
That's it.
All right. Speaking of how it's going now, we have a few minutes here to look back on the season that was.
The season that was
The half a season that was. It's felt like a season. Last night felt like 4 games, man. Like,
damn it! I don't want to. And I watched that shit completely sober.
Sober.
That was honestly
was
that was
not.
about as frustrated as I've been at a game in a long time. Maybe it was because I hadn't had a beverage, but I was very frustrated last night. Although by the time it got to like into multiple overtimes, everybody also who had been drinking was sober by that point.
Sober too. Because you can't drink after like midway
the room, my room closes, early third quarter, so everybody else was sober too by that time.
Can I ask you like a basketball question because it's
Please.
driving me insane?
Yeah, please.
I'm watching Darvin Ham and the Lakers just get like run up against brick wall after brick wall when teams go zone on them. And I think part of it obviously is because of the lack of shooting. But I think schematically, the stuff that they're doing is kind of annoying me. Okay. The way that I have, and just like really quickly, and this is just like basketball 101 level stuff, but if a team goes zone on you, you want to offset that top level of defense at the top level of your offense, right? So if a team goes 2-3 on you, you want a single person at the top of your offense. If a team goes 1-3-1 or 1-2-2, then you want 2 people at the top of your offense. And then the idea is to move those 2 people or 1 person at the top of that defense off to one of the sides so that you can have an angle to get into the middle of that zone defense. Ideally, that's that's how I've always, when I was coaching, when I was playing, that was the approach that I took to breaking zones. And I think you see that still in the NBA a lot, like the Mavericks last night in situations where the Lakers were going zone, we're putting Christian Wood there at the free throw line. And because he was so much taller and because the Lakers have such shorter people than Luka at the top. Yeah, like it was just, they were just lobbing the ball over the top of those 2 first guards. You get the ball to Christian Wood, and now it's a 3-on-2 fast break essentially against the remaining defenders out there. And I this might be a personnel thing, but like have you noticed? I've noticed that the Lakers' approach to breaking, especially the 2-3 zone that they see really often, is to have somebody go in and screen one of the defenders at the top of the 2-3 and have somebody dribble off to the side there, whoever has the ball at the top there, and then they try to break the zone that way without ever really getting the ball into the middle of the paint. Why? What's going on?
Okay, so there's a lot here.
Right.
It is mostly a personnel thing. The way to defeat zones generally, this is I'll give the like easy version of this. The 2 best ways to defeat the purpose of the best way to defeat a zone, as you mentioned, is to get guys moving a lot. The zone does 2 things defensively. Obviously, you're tending to give up more threes. The Lakers don't have any shooters.
Yeah.
So you're tending to give up more threes. So that's one reason teams play zone. The other reason teams play zone is because it can reduce dribble penetration because there's no specific guy in front of you to beat.
That you have to beat.
And if you beat whoever's around you in the zone, normally the help is coming from farther away in man-to-man because guys are closer to whoever they are guarding. So it's harder to help in man-to-man. In a zone, you're already closer to generally. But I do think it is a person. So the way that you defeat that is one of 2 ways generally. This is a simple version of it. There are more ways, but these are the first 2 that you either overload offensively one side of the zone so that there aren't enough guys to help. Right?
Yeah, and you make somebody on the backside of the zone useless.
They have to come from way too far and won't get there. The other, as you mentioned with Christian Wood, is you try to get somebody generally around the free throw line, which tends to be in the middle. The problem with that for the Lakers is a personnel thing, because you mentioned the height of Christian Wood, which makes it easier to get him the ball.
Yep.
and
And the
you
height
want
of Luca.
and you want something also true. Correct. I was going to get to in a second. You want somebody also that hopefully is a good decision maker, a pretty good passer from that high post spot. The problem for the Lakers is, in this case, because of the roster, I mean, in general, probably, but certainly with this roster currently, those two guys are the same person. You want LeBron as the guy feeding it because he has the size to get it there, but you also want LeBron at the free throw line so he can be the one, because he's probably the best decision maker in NBA history, and he has the size, which makes it easier to get him the ball.
Yeah.
Like, so that, like, what is the other option, right? Like, in the late game lineup, what's the option? You're going to put Wenyen at the free throw line? Like, what's he going to do if he catches the ball? So that, I think,
okay. He did fine if he just turned
Wenyen
and
was
dunked.
great. No. Wenyen was great last night. But he is a play finisher. He's not a play initiator. He's not creating anything. He's not a good passer, right?
Yeah,
I don't want him at the free throw line
he's
putting
not
the ball
a
on the
connector.
ground.
He's a finisher. He's a finisher and
he's
finisher.
Completely a finisher. And he was great last night, to be fair. But even like Thomas Bryant, I don't want Thomas Bryant's not doing that.
And Thomas
so the problem for the Lakers is LeBron is the guy for both of those things. You were saying, why did the Lakers operate how they did with like trying to set a screen, which also can be kind of difficult in a zone, identifying who's the right guy. The reason for that is because the Lakers wanted to attack Luka over and 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 over again. It had some success. Luka had 5 fouls. You also want to try to foul Luka out. Luka's going to have to pull a knife on somebody in that game to get called for his 6th foul.
And even then,
right. But he's also a horrible defender. So I understand trying to go at, wanting to go at him. So I think that was,
I was saying, and even if he pulled a knife on somebody, I think that referee would have looked the other way.
The other issue, though, as it relates to last night's game specifically, the Lakers, and I think this is the right choice, the Lakers are, depending on which site you look at and depending, day to day, they are either like slightly behind the Warriors or basically tied with the Warriors in pace at number 1 or number 1 and 2. And the Mavs are last in pace, or maybe second to last in pace. And they look like a lot of previous LeBron teams where it's, we're going to play slow. Luka's going to have the ball the whole time, as LeBron used to. And LeBron is going to dissect you in the half court like Luka does now, right? Luka's going to get his own, or he's going to break the paint and kick it out to a million shooters, right? Even though they were terrible last night too, like Tim Hardaway and Bullock. Bullock has literally been one of the worst players in the NBA this year. Like, statistically, in all the catch-all metrics, he is literally like the 3rd worst player in the NBA this year.
Yeah.
However,
him missing so often in that arena like gave me PTSD.
What that does, though, and this is I think this speaks to why the Lakers' clutch time numbers are so horrific, is because the game at the end slows down. It's a possession by possession game. You're not going to get, guys are actually trying to guard. You're not going to get much in transition. People are more careful with the ball. So there's not going to be a lot of live ball turnovers leading to, run outs and stuff. Basically, the only way you're going to run is if you happen to get a long rebound, generally, in the last bit of the game. And so I think the Lakers struggle clutch time, specifically offensively, because they are used to a game that is a different game in the last few minutes. And Luka and the Mavs, the way that the game tightens up in the last few minutes,
that's how they play anyway.
So they have all the reps and they know exactly what they're doing. The Lakers do a little bit of back and forth. Okay, like, is LeBron going to do this? Yeah, most of the time. Well, now Russ is going to initiate some and try to break people down. And Dennis is going to do a little bit. And that's just not, the Mavs know exactly what they're doing every single time because it's going to be Luka. So I think last night that was a lot of the difference. And, we talked about the zone offense stuff. But I think that speaks to the larger thing with, it's a reason for, and by the way, I think the Lakers they're not offensively talented enough to, and LeBron isn't as a decision maker and passer, he's still maybe the best in the league. But the slight diminishment in his athleticism, I think, is most seen with his ability to beat people off the bounce.
Yep.
And so I agree with, and the Lakers do have some decent athletes. Russ obviously should be in transition, etc. Thomas runs. He's one of the best. Thomas, for a dude that looks like he's like ice skating when he runs, like he doesn't bend his knees. It's the strangest thing, but he plays harder than anybody else more often than anybody in the league. And he's
great
always
hands
running.
too. Just
and
like,
Wenyen get out and run,
hands.
etc. So I think it's the right decision for the Lakers in a macro sense to play at the pace that they do. But one of the ways in which that kind of rears its ugly head is in the clutch time stuff. And you saw a great example of it last night.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, like with this specific question about the zone and the way that the Lakers handle the zone, that gets fixed whenever AD comes back, because
certainly
you put him at the free throw line. And
I mean, there's a little bit like, or maybe you invert him and LeBron. You have him up because LeBron is a significantly better decision maker than AD. But he can do that Christian Wood thing if he has a smaller guy on him, where he can just turn and face and shoot over the top with a 10-footer or 12-footer.
Well, like the one thing that was kind of annoying last night, and like it, credit to Dallas, it wasn't like zone after zone after zone after zone. Like they were switching it up, and
it's also Jason Kidd, who has a lot of experience with not a lot of the guys, but a handful of the guys on this Lakers roster.
Mm-hmm. And I got. When Dallas was going zone, I was just like screaming, get Russ the ball at the top and then try to get LeBron moving around the free throw line. And instead they kept going with LeBron with the ball, and somebody was setting a screen on the guy at one of the elbows or up at the top of the 2-3, and it wasn't creating anything as often as I would have liked. And again, just like Dallas kept on switching up their coverages and stuff, you can switch up your approach. And I just thought the Lakers never threw a second pitch there.
So one more thing, and there is some other late game stuff. Like, well, look at us breaking down basketball. I do want to talk about, but I think it's a personnel thing. I think it's a roster thing, because when you do set that screen, the guy setting the screen in a zone specifically, the guy you want setting the screen is different than in man-to-man, right? Well, depending on what matchup you want. But in a zone specifically, often the guy, and you saw this a lot, often the guy you want setting the screen is not a big guy who's going to dive, is a pick and pop guy, because that's what's going to get the defense moving the most. And so the Lakers were trying that with Troy Brown. Troy Brown was the screener for LeBron mostly, but also for Russ some. He was the guy that was the screener, and he's going to set the screen and then flash out to the 3-point line, pop to the 3-point line,
and then get fouled by Tim
the problem though, and this, like, Troy's fine. He's better as a catch and shoot guy, less so on the move. But like, you want one of those guys that is, you want Ray Allen was the guy who was so great at this, or Reggie Miller, right? And those are all-time shooters. Clay. But you want somebody, Clay is maybe the best ever at it, but you want one of those guys that the defense is worried about. And Troy, like, he's good enough that Troy is a good enough shooter that you're not just going to let him stand there but he is not so good of a shooter. I hear you saying a name and I'm not going to respond to it. Troy is one of those guys that, like, if he sets a screen and then flashes out to the 3-point line, it is not the oh shit. He's not an oh shit kind of guy, especially on the move. And so that, like, the defense is like, okay, like, I'll live with that. Like, we got to pay attention to him, but it's not like a 5-alarm fire where everybody starts getting jumbled up and two people run to him by mistake. Like, so I think that is a personnel thing. Like, if they had, and I'm not going to mention any names, if the Lakers had somebody that was a good, like, a dangerous movement shooter, even if they didn't do a whole lot else, obviously you want somebody that can shoot and stay on the floor defensively. But even just somebody, I think somebody that was a, like, scary for defenses movement shooter would do a lot for the clutch time offense, and especially against that zone. Defensively, last night, I did not enjoy. And the Lakers sent help at Luka quite a bit. Luka was not scoring early, and we can go back to the Christmas Day game. The Lakers were trapping Luka everywhere, and the guys didn't make any shots. The Mavs others didn't make any shots in the first half, and then they made everything in the second half.
Mhm.
Fine. The trap was successful yesterday against Luka too. And at the end of the game and at the end
He's like
of the
he's
first
like, "Stop."
overtime,
It was the weirdest thing.
no. And we talked about this in Slack. I was literally yelling over and over and over. I don't care. People were saying, why don't you have LeBron guard him? I don't care. Even against LeBron, even with LeBron guarding him, send a second body, send
Yeah.
somebody else. And the Lakers were doing that. And what Luka would do is he would get rid of the ball early, and then the Lakers would kind of scramble back to their
Yeah.
assignments, and then they'd give it back to Luka, and the help wouldn't come the second time. And then
Right.
Luka gets to operate. I think once it was against Troy and once it was against Dennis, those two
Yeah.
threes.
I thought it was
When
weird
Luka
that
gets the
they
ball
didn't.
back, send help again.
Yeah. Well, not just that.
Send it back immediately on the
Either
catch. Don't
send.
wait on the
It's
catch.
kind of like that meme, right? Security. Like Schroeder's just police. Send the police. Like,
Immediately.
I was waiting for that to happen, or for Schroeder to just foul. Like once you're out.
That was going
once
to be the second part of it. I
Yeah.
am a big, huge, and I don't understand why.
Yeah.
But there's a segment of coaches that believe in fouling, and this is for people not understand. It's for when you're up 3 with a certain amount of time left. When you're up 3, you foul. Some coaches, the only thing I can think of, they're wrong, but because if you foul, that brings losing into the equation, right? You could try to foul as they're shooting and they make a 3 and then they make the
Or if you don't trust your free throw shooters.
Or you could foul them, they make the first one, they miss the second, and somehow the ball gets tapped out for a 3 and they make a 3 and you lose. So there is some fear of that. There's also the fear of fouling while they're going into their shooting motion and they get 3 free throws. But they're wrong. Fouling works well over 75% of the time. There is also a difference of opinion of when you foul, how much time is left. And in this case, Luka made the shot with 6. I went in with 6 seconds left. So the possession started, I think, there was like 12 seconds left or something like that. I don't care. As soon as it gets close to 10.
Yeah.
10. I mean, definitely by the time it gets to 7.5, when Luka's shooting that, he should have been fouled. If you're up 3 with 10 seconds or less left, you foul. You teach your guys to do it in a way that they're not in their shooting motion, and you completely wrap them up so they can't get the shot off. If you were up 3 with that amount of time left, in my opinion, you foul, period.
Yeah.
Because for you to lose so many things, so many very unlikely things have to all go against you for you to lose.
Yeah.
You're just, I don't even see the argument in this one.
No.
If you're up 3, you foul. I don't know why the Lakers didn't. I don't know. I have not
Twice.
talked to Darvin about this. Yeah, but there was more time left in the second one. The first one, like, I think it's a no-brainer. I don't know Darvin's philosophy on this. I haven't talked to him about it, but I don't understand.
He said he would have preferred they ran Luka off the ball again. He didn't mention fouling when he was asked about it after the game.
Yeah, okay. Well, yeah, I agree with that too. Send another, like, if somebody else is going to beat me, fine. I would rather, in that situation, I would rather have literally anybody else take an open 3 than Luka take a contested 3. Luka is a fucking killer.
Yeah.
He's a killer.
He is.
And I'm going to have, like, much like people do with the Lakers, right? Like, fine, I may get beat, but you know who I'm not going to get beat by? LeBron.
Yeah. I mean, that was clearly Kid's approach to last night. It was just anytime.
Have you noticed? I tweeted about this because LeBron slipped again last night, like late game, trying to turn the corner. But it seems like it's been like 4 or 5 times in the last couple of weeks that LeBron has blown a tire trying to turn the corner. There was the one, I think the Lakers were down 2, or maybe it was down 3. Yeah, I think they were down 2. LeBron broke the paint I think they were down 3 and kicked it out to Schroeder for a wide open 3, left corner 3 that Schroeder missed, which was a fine shot. But it was like LeBron made that pass from the ground. This was like 2-3 weeks ago that LeBron made the pass from the ground because he had slipped, and he did again last night. Obviously, I've noticed it like 4 or 5 times in the last couple of weeks. I don't know what's going on, but it's a little quirky something.
I mean, like I still feel like people get away with more guarding LeBron on the perimeter or on his way to the basket than just about anybody else. And I think part of that is like
fouled a ton, yes.
Yeah, I think part of that is like he's allowed to be hand checked, whereas like you watch Trey Young or you watch Jar or any of these other small. I think Luca gets you know they let people play physically against him and Giannis, because if you don't play physically against those guys,
All
it's
right, it's the
just
Shaq.
over.
It's the Shaq thing. Well,
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
even think it's that. It's that these dudes are so like big and strong, like they get fouled and it doesn't affect them like it does smaller guys, and so it looks different to officials. I don't think it's like a.
Yeah.
I don't think it's like a nefarious thing. I just think
No,
like it just like against Shaq, like right, like it's not like oh if he gets every
well,
call, like there's nothing you can do about it.
the
It's
other
that
part
like
of it,
these things don't look like fouls because they don't affect them as much as other people.
they also force that issue more, right? Like
Oh,
Giannis,
Luca, yeah,
Luca,
yeah,
LeBron, Shaq
James,
back in the day, like those guys,
James.
yeah, like those guys, they can play physically, and if you don't allow the defense to match some of that physicality, they just average 50 a night. Like there's just nothing you can do. Whereas like if Trey tried to body somebody, it would just look hilarious. It would
You
just
don't
look
like the
funny.
twerking for fouls?
Oh
That
no,
is one of my favorite. That is one of my favorite like NBA terms
phrases.
that has come up that has been coined in the last whatever it is 4 or
All
5
right,
years.
we have gone over, and we didn't get to the rest of the first half of the season, but we do have something that I have a question. You have 30 seconds to answer it, or 5 seconds if you want to take 5 seconds.
Okay.
But my running theory here, now that the Lakers have worked out Boogie and they have worked Myers Leonard out, and given all of the reports that the Lakers are looking for more front court depth, I am of the opinion, based on that stuff, based on the information presented to us to this point, that the days of AD playing predominantly, let alone only center, are behind us.
I disagree. Um
Okay.
Although Darvin said when asked about, I think it was about how Thomas was playing, how well Thomas Bryant was playing, about if he's considering when AD comes back, LeBron, AD, and Thomas
Bryant.
playing together, and he said, "Yeah, it's something like definitely looking at and going to consider." And Thomas has played so well, I think you have to play him with AD some when AD comes back. I do. I don't think he's going to start. I think AD is going to start at center. I've talked about how I'm like have some concerns about LeBron as just a full-time defensive three, although you can play AD out on the wing on those guys some. But I think I think the big guys coming in for workouts today actually. I think it has more to do with AD's not going to be back within the next 10 days. I think that's
Mm-hmm.
what it is. So I do not think the guys coming in are,
So
at
I
least
can
at
hold
this
out
point,
hope.
being thought of as like full season guys. I think there is a need for big bodies in the, while AD is out.
The reason I was asking that is, again, not to put you in a tough spot or whatever, and apologies when I do this anyway, but like, if the notion is that AD isn't going to be playing center anyway, and you're looking for a longer term fix that allows AD to move more to the four, if they're worried about AD breaking down because of how much center he was playing, then why not make the Turner trade like that?
And
That
so what I am saying is
Yeah. No, your answer
I
is
disagree.
consistent
I
with that.
disagree that I
Yeah.
think AD is going to be a full time center, not every single minute, but I think
Yeah.
AD is a full time center now. And I mean, and you're right though.
And importantly, I think the point that you make about LeBron is just as important. That AD needs to be a full time center because LeBron needs to be a full time power forward.
yeah, and by full time that does not mean 100% of minutes, right? LeBron is going
Yeah.
to play some point guard. LeBron is not defensively, but LeBron is going to play some three defensively. Like the defensive assignment is what matters. Um, and I think it is meaningful, right? We've seen how dominant AD was when playing almost all only center, right? He was the best player in the league for 15 games before he got hurt, or I don't know if he was the best player in the league, but he was like playing at an MVP level before he got hurt. And I do think that no, I don't think, I know that does influence and impact any decision making as it relates to trades, right? Like going into the year, maybe the thought was, hey, you need a center, right, to pair with AD. And because of how good AD has been, like maybe that not only is that not a need anymore, like maybe that seems like a misallocation of resources, going to get especially when you can find guys, like there are better centers available at the minimum as compared to other positions all over the place. So I suspect I think AD is going to be mostly a center when he comes back, and I do think that informs and impacts and affects what the Lakers are looking for in a potential trade.
Yeah. All right. Well,
and I will give you and you can when we stop recording, I can give you the latest on where all of those negotiations stand.
all right.
Or you can
Well,
text me or
I'm going to
whatever.
get off the air right now. Probably going to go pour a drink, actually. It's 3:30 my time. So I'm
Okay.
going to, we'll see. We'll see. But that is going to do it here for this episode of The Hook. This week's episodes here on the Silver Screen and Roll podcast feed. I got to say, shout out to you guys, because last night's pressure cooker ran for 45 minutes, and
Wow.
you guys rocked with me for the entirety of it because of those two overtimes.
There was a lot of pressure to cook too.
And that happened, by the way, on the heels of a Lakers lounge that ran right before the game and into the first part of the game that y'all rocked with me for the entirety of too. So
you know what? Next time, I don't know when the next Thursday game is, but next time there's a Thursday game and you do it right before the game, I'll pop on for like 5 minutes from
check in
crypto.
from the okay, and then maybe like grab Rob, and then I can just like.
I don't think I'm gonna do that. I did speak with Rob a bunch last night. He had a very good looking suit on. I'll tell you that. That motherfucker was styling last night, boy. He had a good suit on. He had one of his best, one of my favorite suits of his. He had a good one on. So most of our conversation was about how great he looked in his suit. Yeah, most of it. I complimented on his suit. We talked a little basketball too, but mostly it was just me complimenting him on his suit. He looked good last night.
That's the thing that like I'm afraid to ever get like that level of wealthy, because I know I will spend way too much money on suits I will almost never wear. That's one of my like. I worked at Men's Warehouse growing up, and I loved the idea of suits. I would probably get back into shape just so I could look better in suits. That would probably.
You're not gonna. I mean, you're not a bad looking dude, and if you get in shape, especially. But I mean, like Rob Pelinka is that is a star to which you cannot aspire.
Oh no, I'm not saying the guy gets compared to Rob Lowe.
That's a good looking white man there, boy. That's a good. I don't know. Him and Jimmy G. That's a good looking. Those are two good looking white boys there, man. I'm not into white guys, but those are some